Cupertino, California, autumn 1984. Apple's Boardroom was designed so that the physical conditions of a conversation were never incidental. 8 substantial chairs, a table size to ensure proximity without creating the kind of pressure that makes deliberation difficult. The quarterly agenda followed a standard sequence: financial performance, the product roadmap, competitive landscape, and forward guidance. From his seat by the window, John Sculley watched the board members arrange themselves. They moved with the unhurried quality of people who know that what is about to happen is important and have decided to receive it without performative urgency. They were there to assess, to measure the presentation against the accumulated picture they had been building across months of reports and quarter conversations. Jobs presented the product section with his customary force. He rendered the future so vividly that the difficulties of the present seemed, in that light, almost beside the point. He spoke about what the Macintosh would be in 2 years. He described a software ecosystem and a network of developers building the applications that would transform the machine into an indispensable tool. This chart shows the path of those projections. It is a steep, ambitious curve upward, representing the future Jobs was asking the board to inhabit. But the CFO's data told a different story. Early adoption had plateaued. Inventory was beginning to accumulate in the channel. The gap between how the presentation felt and what the numbers actually said was beginning to widen. The board received this without visible reaction. In this room, the real reactions happen afterward, in the bilateral calls made that evening and the quiet conversations that carry more weight than anything said at the table. Arthur Rock was 61 years old. He had been an original investor who believed in Apple at its most fragile, giving him a quality of authority that no other board member could replicate. He had earned the right to his opinion by being right when it was most expensive. He spoke rarely in meetings. When he did, the room adjusted. Experience had taught everyone present that Rock's words were worth the adjustment. He had been watching Jobs for years, first with admiration, then with something more complicated. On this day, that sentiment was moving in a specific direction. After the CFO finished, a pause settled over the table. Rock looked at Jobs and asked, "Steve, walk me through the path to the projection." It was a request for a plan. Jobs answered it with vision. Rock listened and nodded once. He did not push back. He simply noted the distance between the question and the answer and filed it.
This private decision-making, indivisible, undocumented, occurring entirely outside the formal record, is where board sentiment actually forms. By the time a board's concern becomes visible in the room, it has already been fully formed outside it. But what matters is the early signal, the question receiving the wrong answer, the pause that follows, and the single nod that means something different from agreement. The following week, Rock had suggested lunch. The restaurant was quiet, midweek, and mid-afternoon, the timing that ensures privacy. Rock had reached Sculley directly on a private line before noon on a Thursday. Now, as the waiter retreated, Rock looked at Sculley with the unhurried attention of a man who has spent a career reading people. "How are you finding it?" Rock asked. He waited. He had developed over decades the specific patience of a man who understands that the second answer is always more honest than the first. This lunch table, away from the campus and the formal board records, was the true arena where the assessment was taking place. "Steve believes the market will arrive at the product," Sculley said. "I believe we need to meet the market where it is." Rock looked at him for a moment. "That's an important difference," he said. He picked up his fork, and the conversation moved on, the substance already exchanged. Driving back to campus through the afternoon, Sculley understood that the situation was creating a new role for him. He was becoming the alternative. True power doesn't always declare itself through a confrontation. It happens in the space between sentences, and in the quiet decision to groom a different path while the visionary is still speaking.